In the second part, the grave silence in the airplane is interrupted by Armin's excitement about the lack of fuel. Because of the great rush, only half of it had been filled. Armin was worried that they wouldn't be able to reach Salta Fortress. Onyankopan remarked that he would give his life but would get them to their destination, and added that the flying boat Hanji had gotten them was their last hope. Onyankopan promised to get them to the base at any cost and asked that they stop the ground shaking in return. Planning for the attack on Aren began. They drew Aren's body. Only the captain and Pick had seen him, but they didn't know his location. They couldn't describe Aren in every detail, but they knew for sure it was a giant pile of bones. No one could figure out where Aren's main body was, so it was unclear where to hit. Pick had the idea of blowing the whole thing up, like Armin had done with the military port in Libereo, but someone close to Aren was still hoping to negotiate. Armin agreed to the idea, but he wanted to try to talk to him first. If Aren didn't change his mind after the dialogue, Armin suggested hitting him directly. Levi said that the easiest thing to do would be to deal with Zeke, because he was also connected to Aren. He also said that he would personally finish Zeke. Jean says that he can't let the deaths of the fallen be in vain, and that it would demoralize the whole squad. Connie becomes despondent. He feels sorry for killing his comrades. Mentioning this, he compares himself to Raynor. He asked Brian how he felt when he was a bastard. He replied that the burden is with him forever and added that he stays to help the living when they have already killed the dead. Jean also says that he's far from a saint, but he cut into the conversation late, so no one listened to him. Raynor suggests that Aren wants to be stopped. It sounds silly, but Armin finds confirmation of it, since he basically has all the Eldians and their Titan forces at his command. In Armin's opinion, Aren isn't taking them away from the collective because he wants to see how they will behave. Raynor thinks that Aren just wants him killed, reasoning that if he were in his place, that's what he would want. The collective thought Raynor was more stupid than they realized. The conversation was interrupted by teleportation. Everyone was startled. Levi suspects that Aren heard their conversation. The friends begin to call Aren and urge him to listen to them. Armin assures Aren that no one will attack Paradise because he has already ensured their safety. He has created so much fear that they are afraid to even swim near them. He adds that their island will be fine and that no one needs to be killed. But Aren doesn't dare to answer yet. It turns out that Armin's apology wasn't enough for him and he waited until everyone had confessed, so they each start to make valid arguments. Jean yells that he agrees with Armin and urged him not to cause a massacre to save them. Connie yells that he hasn't forgiven Aren for reacting to Sasha's death, but he was sad for her too. Picasa said in a calm and quiet voice that she wanted to bear the weight of her sins with Aren because they bore the same guilt that he did. She also added that Aren should not distance himself from them. Levi said that he would slap Aren when they met. After their words, they stood in silence for a few seconds and suddenly Aren's voice came out. He said that the shaking of the earth would not stop. No matter what happened, he didn't want to leave Paradise to its fate and he would go all the way. Levi spotted Aren in the form of a child in the distance and pointed at him. His friends start running towards him with all their legs and call out to him. Before they know it, they have run around the globe. While they are running, Aren justifies why he is not taking away the power of the Titans. He's willing to take away freedom from the entire world to get his own, but he wasn't going to take freedom away from them. Armin didn't understand why Aren had called them if they didn't have any common ground. Aren replied that he wanted to notify them that they had nothing to discuss and that if his friends wanted to stop him, he would not prevent them from doing so. They then returned to the airplane and Onyankopon was scared out of his mind because of the rumbling. The friends were sad because there was no hope of negotiation. Levi teases the commander, asking what the orders will be. Meanwhile, Annie and Kiyomi were on the ship discussing their concerns. They discussed stopping the earthquake and the plight of their country. Annie didn't like the fact that they would have to eat only fish for a while. The old woman was worried that she had done something wrong and had not dedicated herself to saving the Eldians. On the way, she confessed that money and profit had always been more important to her. Annie didn't understand her principles, but the old woman explained to her that people only value something when they lose it. Profit and loss are so petty compared to people. Annie said that there was no going back. The kids who made it out of the cabin say that Falco dreamed about Zeke's memory. Gabby said that a female could use another Titan's ability if she got a part of his body. Annie agreed with her point of view, and said that was the reason she was forced to swallow a lot of things. The children realized that if this was true, they might be able to do something about it and started screaming all over the ship. Annie scolded them and sent them off to haul coal. She then asked if it was true that Falco had deduced Zeke's memory. Falco began to describe the dream and said that he had become a Titan because of his cerebrospinal fluid and that something animal-like must have awakened because of it. Falco said that one scene recurred most often, in which he was flying high above the clouds and he felt like he could really do that because he could feel it. The event shifts to a train that has been hijacked by escaped Eldians. This train is headed to the only place of escape from the Titans, the airships, but they have already taken off. The Marleyan criticized the Eldian for his plan to hijack the airship and the Eldian held up his gun. He said that if they didn't catch up to the airships, his family would be overtaken by the shaking of the earth. Just like that, he added that he would shoot the Marleyan if he decided to betray everyone. The Eldian intended to do whatever he could to survive. In the wagons, the common people comforted each other. The boy urged the man to throw away the bandage, but he replied that he could not throw it away because it was his daughter's bandage. When they saw the airships flying away, the driver accelerated to catch at least one airship. One of the men saw some smoke. People thought it was the earth shaking and were afraid that they would not be able to escape in time. When the people got out of the cars, they found that the airships were not in the hangars. They were upset that they could not escape and saw the direction the airships were going and realized that they were heading for the Titans. They want to bombard them and stop the Titans by blowing them out of the sky. The tower called out to the blimp squad. Representative Marley says that the blimps are their last hope for salvation and that the price of this decision will affect everyone. As Representative Marley delivers his fiery speech, the mothers reminisce about the past, and Raynor's mother regrets that she was never his mother. Meanwhile, the airships had reached the necessary altitude to begin dropping the explosives. The moment the Titan used its power, the captain ordered the explosives to be dropped immediately. There was a risk of the airships catching fire, but the captain ordered them to continue the bombardment, as it was their only chance to escape. During the bombardment, some creature revived, which began to resist the airships and destroy them. The blazing wreckage of the airships fell to the ground, and the representative who commanded the operation was upset that the operation had failed and began to ask forgiveness for the innocent children who would have to die. The girl saw something in the clouds and pointed her finger there. It turned out to be Onyankopon's plane, which began to dive for lack of fuel. Jan offers the pilot to jump with them, but the pilot says it's too early. Armin, having spotted the Beastman, was glad that he wouldn't have to look for him. The order to disembark was given and the guys epically began to fight against the Beastman. All of this was seen by the common people. The representative was glad that the forces of Paradise Island had arrived to stop the earth shaking. Armin questioned Eren at what point he was free, but we'll get the answer in part 3.